Tazewell. All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. John, if you call the roll, please.
Atkins?
Here.
Connett?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Darcy?
Here.
Graff?
Here.
Hall?
Here.
Harris?
Here.
Hovey?
Here.
Emmett?
Here.
Josting?
Here.
Longfellow?
Here.
Mennel?
Here.
Minton?
Here.
Newhouser?
Here.
Crail?
Here.
Rich Simpson?
Here.
Roberts?
Here.
Scortino?
Here.
Sen? Great, sir. Sundell?
Here.
Wolf? Wolf? Chairman Zimmerman?
Here.
You have a form.
We have a forum. If we could rise for the invocation pledge. Two people I am going to mention in our invocation tonight. Terry Hilligan's a longtime board member. His son died this week. His visitation was he was only 50 years old. And then Mike Shoney lost his father earlier in the month. So just keep those guys in your prayers. I'm sure they would appreciate it. So let's go to the Lord. Heavenly Father, thank you for being such a gracious and kind God to us, despite many of the things that go on around us and the things even in our own life. Thank you for your mercy and your grace. Thanks for this board that we can meet together and deliberate on these issues. We have some difficult decisions to make this year. And so we ask you to give us a spirit of wisdom as we work through these issues. And we want to make decisions that honor our citizens and glorify you. Thanks for our employees with Tazewell County. Thank you for all of our citizens. Thank you for the people in the armed forces that keep us safe here. I lift up this election that's coming up, Father, that has the potential to divide us, but I pray that it can unite us as a country, that we unite under just a common values, and we want to honor you. I lift up our meeting tonight, Father. Just give us words that honor you. And, we know that you're sovereign, and we love you. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So are you able to hear me fine? Do I need this microphone? Okay. Up on the phone. Okay, great. So communications from members of the public. I did receive one, and I'm going to go ahead and read this. And I think that as we read this, this is an individual that lives in Venado Lakes. It's between Delavan and Tremont, and it's just talking about bringing broadband access to the rural areas of our county and even some of our smaller communities. They lack that. And when you have kids at home trying to work that, and I know there are many government grants out there that I think we need to make this a priority in the coming years. So let me read this. Dear Chairman Zimmerman, Vice Chairman Newhouser, and members of the County Board, please let this letter serve as my public comment due to the fact that I'm unfortunately unable to attend in person. I would like to bring to your attention the lack of high-speed internet in certain areas of Tazewell County. I live in Venado Lake subdivision, which is located off of Springfield Road outside the city limits of Delavan. Unfortunately, Venado Lakes and the surrounding homes do not have reliable high-speed internet. Unlike Morton, Washington, Pekin, and East Peoria, my neighborhood is not served by I3 broadband, Mediacom, AT&T, Frontier, or any other fixed land-based high-speed internet provider. Satellite internet is unfortunately not a practical option. Due to slow latency speeds, satellite internet such as HughesNet is not suitable for video conferencing, voice over internet protocol, remote desktop applications, e-learning, telehealth, and other common internet issues. A few homes in my area do have point-to-point wireless internet service, but this is not an option for myself and many others due to trees in the area's natural topography, which obstructs the communication signals for such services. Further, cell phone service is spotty in the vicinity of Venado Lakes. I currently use Verizon, which has questionable coverage at best. AT&T's coverage is also spotty. And T-Mobile, which is now the third largest cellular company in the United States, notified that they do not provide cell coverage at my home address. As I am sure you are all aware, reliable high-speed internet is absolutely crucial in almost every aspect of modern society. This is particularly true during our current coronavirus pandemic, when many people are working from home and participating in e-learning. Excuse me. Living in unincorporated Tazewell County, we do not have a local municipality to provide assistance in this regard. Therefore, I respectfully urge the county board to explore options for expanding internet access to the Venado Lakes area and the underserved portions of Tazewell County. Fortunately, there are some bright spots to the situation. The state of Illinois has implemented a $400 million grant program for broadband expansion, of which the first $40 million or so was awarded earlier this year. Over $3 million was awarded for broadband expansion in Peoria County, but it appears that no applications were submitted for Tazewell. However, more grant money will be awarded by the State of Illinois Broadband Agency Council in the near future. Additional grant money in excess of $16 billion will be distributed by the FCC later this year for broadband expansion under Phase 1 of the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, with another $4 billion to be distributed later under Phase 2. Additionally, Congress has passed the Broadband Data Act, which President Trump signed into law on March 23, 2020. Pursuant to the Broadband Data Act, internet providers and cell phone companies are required to provide specific, granular data in regards to where they do and do not provide internet coverage. The current FCC internet coverage maps are replete with inaccuracies and frequently overstate internet coverage when no such coverage exists. The updated data and maps should be available sometime in 2021. These updated maps will provide better information in regards to which areas lack internet coverage in Tazewell County. Of course, there are undoubtedly areas in Tazewell that lack access to high-speed internet, and I think the county would be remiss if it did not attempt to expand internet access and take advantage of these grant programs. Without such additional funding, local internet providers are often reluctant to put forth significant costs to expand internet coverage. Finally, the expansion of high-speed internet would serve to promote local business, increase property values with a commensurate increase in property tax revenue, and encourage development. As a board member of my local homeowners association, it has come to my attention that this is an important issue for many of my neighbors as well. And in our current environment of polarized politics, encouraging expansion of high-speed internet is a bipartisan issue which I think everyone can support. Thank you for your time, and if you have any comments or questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. His name is Kevin Sheehan, and he lives at Venado Lakes with Delavan, Illinois address. So I would agree with him. And just as an aside, you can download an app that's put out by NACO, the National Association of Counties. It's called the Test It app. And anywhere in the county, anywhere in the country, you can test the download and upload speeds. And NACO takes that data and pulls these maps together to show Congress where there truly is high-speed internet. So I appreciate those comments. At this time also, I didn't receive any other comments. County communications from elected and appointed county officials, and Sheriff Lauer would like to share something.
Microphone work. All right. Actually, it's a couple of things. The first one, I just want to mention that 100 years ago this month, Sheriff Robert Clay was killed in the line of duty. He was shot in a shootout in Wesley City, which is now Creve Coeur. I just bring this up to mention it. He was shot on September 2nd and died on September 4th. I just wanted to keep the memory alive and remember the sacrifice that he made. He is the only sheriff that's died in the line of duty in Tazewell County. Others have died in office, but not performing their duties. The other issue I wanted to bring up, and I had Sue send out this informational sheet on this full body scanner. I know I've been talking about this for a while, and I wanted to make the board aware of how we came to this point that I'm at now. We've been looking at this for maybe a year and a half. We've been to several jails seeing the different versions. We've looked at all the different types of scanners, different performance that they make, and this is the one that we had settled on pre-COVID. Since COVID, this has become an acceptable expense through the CARES Act. It gives the ability for COs not to have to touch the inmates as much. It also has a thermal imaging camera. It takes everybody's picture. It records that, so you have a temperature of everybody that comes through there. And that's one of the reasons that it's an accepted expense. Now, I got the quote today, and I do intend on ordering it, and I intend on paying for it with fee funds that I have, but because it's such a high expense, I wanted the board to be aware of it. And then once the reimbursement comes back, I'll just put it back into that fee fund line. The total on it is $171,500. Originally, the cost I was told was $250,000, but with discounts and the vendor lowered it to $171,000. So I have checked with Mike Holly. It is on GSA contract, so we don't have to bid it, and it should be here within 4 weeks. So my intent is to order it tomorrow.
Tim, go ahead.
Sheriff Lau, this is Joe Roberts. I am completely in support of that purchase.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Tim?
Jeff, you had mentioned to me earlier in the week, there's a few other counties that have already proceeded along this line with the same vendor and are intending to do the same thing with the CARES Act money.
Yes, it's one vendor. They don't have other vendors. So Ogle County has already ordered theirs, and DuPage County has it. Macon County already had it, and I think Sangamon County was, they were getting ready to go live with it.
And Jeff, one other, if people ingest the little baggies of drugs when they know they're going to get arrested, you'll be able to detect these things, correct?
Yes, and that was one of the original reasons we were looking at it, because of it seems to be a trend that's coming more often, and this will actually help us to detect that.
Any other questions for Jeff?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Sheriff Lauer, thank you for making proactive decisions to improve public safety in this county. I support this 100%. Thank you.
And if you look at page 3, any volunteers once you get in there. I'm not going to commit any crimes, so I don't have that. So, thank you, Jeff.
It does look like a man.
Any other communications from electeds? Russ?
Mr. Chairman, I wasn't going to make this comment, but the input we had from the letter you read was very interesting and on time. Years and years ago, Tazewell County entered into a contract for internet, and one of the things we said as a board way back then was that we're glad to help the internet company, and what we expect in return is to have, it can't happen right away, but to have coverage for our rural areas, in especially southeast, southwest, and south central and mid Tazewell County. And it never happened. And that's why you've got a letter like you do today. And that's just, you could have a lot of letters like that. And the county board members from those rural areas probably hear it a lot more frequently than us from Morton East, Cherry Creek, and Washington. But it's a serious problem, and especially today with what is expected with education and other things like it because of the pandemic. The need is urgent. And the last thing I want to say is the last time that contract was up with the provider, and it's a long period of time, I think 10 years or something like that, I actually, with the support of the committee, held it up. And we held a public hearing. And at that public hearing, we said the only reason we held this up and didn't automatically renew this is because we wanted to hold you to the promise to pay the citizens of Tazewell County for rural internet providers provider services. I'm sorry to say that was a problem, I'm just guessing now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I haven't seen any progress since then. So even though we held it up and stated that was the only reason we held it up, I still don't think we have their attention. What they do is, like good businessmen, they look at where the most profit comes from, and they don't care about the rest. And if there's anything that we can do to stir that up a little bit, I'll be glad to participate with you. You've got my support, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Well, I think it's a lot like the rural electrification program back in the 30s. It's just not cost effective to bring that. So if we can get these grants to help, that's great. Brandon?
Point of privilege, Mr. Chairman. I would like to remind people who are calling in to mute their phones if they're not speaking.
Yeah, if you're not speaking on the phone, if you could mute your phone, that would really help us here. Thank you. Okay.
Is there a plan to have the county seek those grants
There
on
is.
their behalf?
There will be. So,
Okay, thank you.
Nancy?
About a year ago, Greg Sin and I went to a meeting regarding this in Delavan, and the EDC was hosting it at that time. We had all of the players together, and from there was going to be something done, because I'm one of the victims, one of the frustrated victims. So I know there's been stirring. The EDC sometimes has an employee that represents that particular topic, so I think that's the direction we have to probably start.
I'll follow through on that, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I just have one comment, and I feel, I'm sorry I have to bring this up every month, but I know that this is part of our contracting strategy moving forward, but it's in regards to our clerk. And again, this is not directed at their employees, but year to date, they've spent an additional $104,000 in raises, in benefits. You know, that works out to about $500,000 every 4 years. We spend tens of thousands of dollars on the Hay study, doing position evaluations. It's been thrown out the window for all intents and purposes. We face potential arbitration costs if we lose of another $500,000. Yeah, and it's made negotiations much more difficult when even within one unit, some people get 22% raises and other people got 3%. So just want to bring that up at each meeting so that we keep that in the front burner. So, all right, any other communications? All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from August 26th? Motion by Minton, second by Darcy. Those are sent to you. Any comments? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those pass.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we have 3 in-place meetings. The first one is in-place property. Chairman Harris.
Sue, would you call the roll, please?
Harris?
Here.
Josie? Josie? Darcy? Here. Graff?
Here.
Newhouser?
Here.
Shortino? Here. Wolf? We have a quorum.
Thank you. In March, we approved the resolution to hire Farnsworth to come in and do a complete electrical evaluation of the courthouse. They give us that evaluation, and we need to know what each of the 90 segments cost, or an estimate of the cost. And to get that from Farnsworth, we need an additional $6,800, and that will help us on our bid documents, setting up our bid documents and forecasting. So, Tim?
So Mike, once they come back with those results, and what you had mentioned the other night, those 90 bullet points or 90 issue areas, they're going to prioritize those
Yes.
for us, and then associate a cost with them. Then we will be able to take what they're providing to us and put it in the form of a bid document that then we can have the whole scope of the project bid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So, entertain a motion. Motion by Mindy, second by Frank. Any comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go to recess. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We have an in-place executive committee meeting also Sue, if you could call the roll.
Chairman Zimmerman?
Here.
Newhouser?
Here.
Sonnet? Here. Darcy? Here. Webb?
Here.
Harris?
Here.
Emick?
Here.
Josti?
Here.
Mennel?
Here.
Trail?
Here.
Sin?
Here.
Sundell? Here. We have a quorum.
All right, let me get a motion to get this on the floor, and then we can explain. Motion by Newhouser, second by Graff. When you want to give just kind of an overview of the premium?
So on Friday, I had a meeting with our insurer, IPMG, and we were having that meeting because we had received a quote from the incumbent carrier a couple of weeks before, and then I had asked them to go back out and see if we could get better rates from from others. So they didn't think that it would be a big deal to do that. They thought that they could probably bring it down maybe a little bit more. We were going to look at it. And when they called me on Friday, what they told me is that, and let me go back and just say, they said that the original proposal was good through the 25th. I informed them that the board didn't even meet until the 30th. Tim got to be a part of this conversation as well. But they didn't seem to think it was a big deal. They thought that it would be okay, everything would be fine. Well, on Friday, what they told us is that in further medical review, they determined that they're gonna throw on additional lasers. And they would also increase our premium, all of the people who were looking at it. So somehow, something happened in that time period in those few weeks. Someone presented with something, right? And they get to review that data. And what they told me is it would be either 100,000 to up to 650,000, depending, some were contingent lasers on if they had a certain procedure or whatever. And so I was pretty frustrated. I hung up that call, put a call into my colleague, and we discussed it. And he said that David could use his powers of emergency to assign the agreement that day. And I know David hates to do that. We try to ever avoid doing this. So David was great. We talked it through. We wanted to save the county and our employees those additional costs. And so David came in. He actually had me send the stuff to his house. He signed it at home. Then we had to wait for the application. We were told 30 minutes. An hour and 45 minutes later, we finally get the application. Poor David had to cancel a meeting he had that afternoon. But he did, and we got it taken care of. But the trigger typically is I present you with premiums, you approve them, and then David can sign the contract. So we're doing it all backwards. So then that meant from Friday till today at about noon, I've been working on creating the premiums for us. And so what you have in your packet is the premiums, and this year they look just a little bit different. We had the deputies negotiated something different. We used to have very similar language. A few things I will point out to you. So if you look here, you will see the premiums. There's a per paid period that an employee will pay and a total amount for the month. The first one is the non-union employees. You'll see their monthly cost is $191.98. Then the deputies, they negotiated different language than any of the other bargaining units, and so their monthly cost is $205.68. Then you go into control room, unit A, correction officers, probation officers, Teamsters. All of those have the same language, so they have a different amount. And what we're doing is we are just doing these based on exactly what the language says, and that's what we bring forward to you. Total cost of the increase for a family was about $102. And so we just split out kind of those costs throughout. We did do a lesser amount on the non-union because we shouldn't be probably tying our non-union with our unions, right? So that's kind of, we're taking that approach is how we're doing it. I want to point out on the last page, this year will probably be the last year that we offer this incentive. So it says, whereas employees qualifying for and purchasing the employee health benefit who are non-tobacco users will receive $4 reduction. This will probably be the last year, and what we will do with that is we're going to push it just to the complete incentive to try to get everybody to go to the health fair, do the health coaching, get their screenings, do all of that. So in next year, that second part where it says 200, we'll move that to about 250. We'll just shift that over. And then that'll be what it is, because what I can tell you is they sign a paper that says they don't smoke. That's what they say. And sometimes I think if someone sees them smoking but you have to know that they've signed that paper, right? Like, and only maybe two people would know that. And so in this way, we just get it's a more focus on health. That's kind of where we're pushing them. So with that though, I just want to point out, like, that will bring, if you participate in this, your total cost per year is going to come down about $248 off your premium. I mean, if you take it as your full insurance package, you get about $250 taken off of your insurance, which is a great benefit both to the employees and to us for them to go through this. So I think.
All right, any questions? You guys feel bad for me, poor David?
Yes.
He did. Well, I have to say, he really did. I mean, he really did to stop a meeting. I appreciated it. So.
No. Any question, Tim?
Well, Wendy's being too kind because she obviously has spent a ton of time on this as well, and I want to thank her. But Wendy, correct me if I'm wrong, when we were going into these negotiations and we received the first communication 2.5 weeks back, we were kind of looking at about a 10% roughly increase, and this is now related to about, what, 6.5?
Half. So when we first started the budget process, I reached out to IPMG and they said put in about a 10%. And then when we got these numbers, it's 6.5% that we'll see here.
So the process it was painful, and timing-wise, it didn't go the way we wanted it, but we were able to bring that down somewhat, so that was a help, so.
And it helps the employees and it helps the county. I mean, we're all in it kind of together, so.
And I apologize if you already know this, but we're self-insured, so we pay the first $125,000. When an insurance company lasers somebody, they have a serious medical condition. Say you have lung cancer. That's not what these are. They may say, okay, the deductible on that individual is $500,000. So we'd have to pay the first $500,000. We assume a lot more risk. So that's, when we're talking about lasers, that's what that is. So.
Typically, they have good information on that, right? Because they're reviewing the medical data. They have a much better idea of that than we do. So when they laser someone, I always know that those costs are impending usually.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are out of executive. And then one more in place, Transportation Chairman Mennel.
So call our roll, please.
Chairman Mennel.
Here.
Sin.
Here.
Crawford.
Here.
Hovey.
Here.
Longfellow.
Here.
Minton. Here. Frail. Here. Roberts.
Here.
Have a quorum.
Okay, this motion is to approve repair on a bridge over the Mackinac. It came about last summer. IDOT required us to take it down to one lane and put stoplights because it was failing. And we went and got plans up, but they were held up down IDOT. We've been waiting on them, so we weren't able to do the bid letting until yesterday morning. We had 3 bidders, and Stark Excavating was the low bidder at $667,000. About a little over 5% over the estimate, and so we need to. We need a motion, Nancy, Tony. Is there any questions or discussions about this?
Just one, Mr. Chairman. Do we know why we're off 5% on our estimate? That's more than usual to be off on.
It is within the there's several things going on here. One is the time of year, weather.
want them to get started on this, and the other thing is the capital bill and all the work that the contractors already have scheduled. So I would guess that's a factor too. So, any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. We're in recess.
Thank you, Greg. All right, that brings us down to our agenda, items 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20, 21 are going to be pulled. Anything else?
Motion to approve the remaining, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Crawford, can I get a second? Second by Longfellow on the remainder. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Let me take the appointments A through D. Can I get a motion? Motion by Prail, second by Conant. All those in favor of the appointment signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Back to the consent agenda. Just came out of property tonight. Can I get a motion for P 2021? Motion by Harris, second by Darcy. This was for the Farnsworth work. Any more questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. And we have 4 replacement hires that are automatically all pulled. I'm just trying to think if I can take all 4 at the same time. Motion by Newhouser for all 4, second by Minton. Are there any questions on these 4 replacement hires? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, item 15, E 2096, motion by Imig, and a second by Sundell. Any questions?
This one we need to make an amendment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and in the second whereas, and you have it in your packet, and we discussed this in the executive committee, and they found out that there did need to be some changes. It starts out whereas GPEDC, and then it gets down into the paragraph and it says Tri-County, Peoria, Tazewell, and Woodford. And since the reorganization of the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, the new language in your packet reads the Federal Designated Economic Development District, Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, Logan, and Mason counties. And it just cleans it up and corrects the language. So I would make that in the form of an amendment.
Okay. Second by Crawford. So the language you have in your packet is correct. It's not what we passed out of executive, so you're seeing. Any questions on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Back to the original motion as amended. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Down to item E20, the emergency declaration. Can I get a motion? Motion by Minton, second by Darcy. Any questions on this one? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item T 2041. Can I get a motion? Motion by Mennel. Can I get a second by Hovey? Any questions? This just came out of committee on the bridge. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
So Joe, I don't know if you're voting no or you're just a little late, so we got you down as no. No. Just
What was that, Chairman?
no, I'll call you later. Any unfinished business? Any new business? The bills were sent to us earlier this week. Can I get a motion to approve the October calendar? Motion by Sundell, second by Atkins. We do have 2 months worth here, and just note that November is always a condensed month. We like to be done before Thanksgiving, and then no meetings in December. So any changes? All those in favor of the calendar signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
The calendar passes. All right. We are recessed until October 28th. Thanks, everyone.
Good job.